NHRA Spring Nationals at Houston Raceway Park. Welcome to the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show on iHeart Radio. Coming up, more guests from the NHRA. Konrad has the car clinic, and we'll have this week's auto news and more award-winning car talk. Howdy, along with Mike Out of This World Mars, King Konrad DeLong, we need more Jeff Seekin. Me too. I'm Don Armstrong, so glad you could join us today. And today's show is presented by Toyota Gazoo Racing North America. Joining us in our remote studio today, out here at Houston Raceway Park, is the reigning champion driver of the Capco Top Fuel dragster, ladies and gentlemen, from Kilgore, Texas, it's Steve.
Good morning, gentlemen. How are you guys?
You are the only person from Kilgore, Texas that I have ever met.
Really?
I've been to Kilgore Rangerettes.
Absolutely.
And I mean,
the best.
Yeah, and I mean, Kilgore, right on.
So have you been to the oil museum in
No,
Kilgore?
I've not, but I'll tell you what I did watch the other day. I did happen to watch a version of one of those travel shows here in Texas, and they did a feature on Kilgore and the oil museum, and I'm going, I had no clue.
Yes,
That is
sir.
a really cool place.
So I've lived there my whole life, and I had some friends come in a couple years ago, and I hadn't been to the oil museum since I was a kid.
They've done it.
And so we went through there again, and it changes constantly. They have different exhibits. I don't know, maybe quarterly, but it was really a fun thing to go through, and just that's the business we're in. We're oil and gas pipeline construction company. So to go back and see some of the stuff, some of the history of where it all started. Kilgore has the world's richest acre. There was more oil pulled out of 1 acre of land right there than anywhere else in the world.
Now, is that the street that has all the oil derricks
Yes,
on
sir.
it?
Yes,
Yep.
sir.
I was totally impressed. I had no clue. I've been through Kilgore, but not there.
So that's Main Street, and then back around Christmas, they changed the name of the street to Steve Torrence Way.
All
Did
right.
they really?
So I
Congratulations.
got a big sign about it. It was pretty cool, very special. And, I tell our people all the time, I said, growing up in Kilgore, Texas, I wanted to get out of there as fast as I could. When I get old enough, I'm leaving. And
now you want to come back.
Now I'm trying to get back there as fast as I can. After every race weekend, I'm like, let's get back to Kilgore. So,
Well, you also have a huge relationship with Kilgore College. I know just recently your social media, you kind of exploded it with a whole lot of stuff you were doing out there at the college.
yes, sir. So there's an incentive program based for the students that go there. They get entries. They've changed the way that it works, but it was points. Different things that they participate in, extracurricular events, school authorized events, and they gain points or credits towards winning a car. And the whole event is called Cruise for Success. So they allow those 10 students to get up there, and everybody gets some type of award, whether it's a $500 gift card, a $1,000 gift card, or the opportunity to win a brand new car. So Patterson Chevrolet there in Kilgore donates a car, and one lucky student gets to walk away with it. And I've been the spokesperson for that for the past 3 years since they started the program. And it's something that's near
How
and dear
cool
to
is
my
that?
heart.
What a way to reward getting educated.
Right.
You know, that's what everybody wants to do.
Well, and it's really for those students that go the extra mile. They put in a little extra effort and take their own time away from school to go to be involved in activities or do something for the community via the school to try to get that opportunity.
How'd you do last night?
I think we ended up 5th. I think we were 70 with a 4, and Antron went 70 with a 4 also. We lost that on mile an hour. It's unfortunate that we're not going to get to race here anymore. This is one of the places that I grew up at, and it was kind of bittersweet pulling up there, and you're like, this is the last Q1, and every round here will be the last round of the HRP.
That's true.
But this is where I really got my start. I mean, Houston and Ennis are home tracks for me, and being a Texas boy, you get the privilege of having 2 hometown events.
Yeah,
per se.
best of both worlds, yeah.
So I remember when we raced here twice a year. You know,
That's
you'd
right.
race,
Yeah.
you'd race in the spring and in the fall, for both races, and it's just. I know the Angels, and it's a different chapter in their life they're moving on to, and sometimes things come to an end. So we'll try to finish this thing off very, very strong.
Well, and there's so much history here at this track as well. You know, just the air at this track has always been some of the best air available early in the season, and it's always been a record setter.
Well, you never know how to pack when you're coming to Houston. You got a sweatshirt, a raincoat,
Umbrella.
and some shorts.
Squeegee.
You never know. We may have to scrape ice off. We may have to put on shorts and a tank top, or you may have to put on a raincoat. Who knows?
In the same weekend.
In the same weekend, for sure.
So, where did you get your start?
My dad started racing. I remember going to the racetrack with my dad at Hallsville, Texas.
Where's Hallsville, Texas?
It's going to be 30 miles east of Kilgore, right off of Interstate 20.
Okay.
And there's a lot of racers out here, sportsman racers, that I grew up racing with.
Is that track still in business?
No, the track is gone. Now the racetrack is actually the entryway and the main street for a neighborhood.
Oh, cool.
So if you look on Google Earth, you can still see the old racetrack.
Oh, wow.
How
and then
funny.
there's homes on either side of it. But I remember going there, I don't know, my whole life. Going to the racetrack with my dad with a streetcar. And then we got a bracket racing super gas style car,
Right.
left side steer car. And then getting a dragster and starting to race super comp. And as time evolves, you always want to do what your folks do if you're involved in it, and so
Especially
I wanted
if it's fun.
right, and so I wanted to drag race, and I started racing super comp with my dad when I was 15.
Did he push you toward doing it, or
No, I think he was having to hold me back.
Yeah.
I just enjoyed it, and we've done this even at this point in my career. We do this as a family. My mom's here, my wife's here, my little girl's here. And I'm sure that she'll catch the same sickness that I did and want to drive one of these things. But it has been my whole life. I raced motocross when I was younger. Naturally, the next thing I wanted to do was race cars. You can't be old and race motocross.
Right.
So I got going in Super Comp. I raced that up until 98, 99. I had Hodgkin's lymphoma there my senior year of high school. Raced a little bit after that. Weirdly enough, we're in St. Louis, Missouri. Don Perdome, Skip Allam, the guy that was kind of his right-hand guy, comes through the staging lanes. And if you guys know Don at all, he's the coolest guy ever. He's just like, hey, man.
Got that toothpick going, and
Yeah.
he's good.
Hey, man.
Yeah.
You ever want to drive a Top Fuel car? And I was like, yes, sir. He goes, won't you come by and talk to me? And I went by and visited with them, and they just kind of said, we're not going to fund you. We're not going to do anything, but we'd like to see what you could do if you could do something on your own. The next year, I went and got my alcohol dragster license at Frank Hawley School, got in the car that was the late Shelley Howard's race car, and won the championship from June to the end of the year in alcohol dragster.
Wow.
We won that championship in 05, ran the car a little bit in 06, and then I started driving a Top Fuel car with Evan Knoll from Torco. Evan we were the first sportsman car that Torco Racing or Evan Knoll sponsored. And then
Expanded from
everybody knows the story to that. But it was all a little spark of an ember that Don Perdome started, and then Evan Knoll helped me get to the next level. And it's a long story. We could talk all day about it, but just to get where we're at now.
And how many times has Don done that for somebody to get them started? He did it for you.
Right.
How many other times before you and after you is that happening? It's just amazing.
Well, bringing Spencer on and just everything that happened over there and how that went, and then he goes to not Spencer. I'm confusing myself here, but yeah, Don has been the spark for a lot of guys, and Schumacher and Bernstein and everybody just lighting those little coals.
Yeah, to get everybody back into it. But Kilgore, let's go back to Kilgore. Kilgore is not necessarily a hotbed of racing, typically.
No, Kilgore's a hotbed of cowboys. So
Could you say
And
that one more
Rangerettes.
time?
no, that sounded terrible. There's a lot of my buddies that I grew up with. Nobody raced. Maybe motorcycles, or maybe horses or something, but not drag racing. And now there's probably a lot more. I don't think that I brought any of it, but it's just you start. It's like any community you get into, whether it's golf or pool or tennis or whatever it is, you start to find the people in your area that do that. And so,
Plus when they see success, everybody wants to follow in your footsteps, and needless to say, you've been unbelievably successful at this. So, but you also race Top Fuel with your dad. What determines what event your dad runs in? Because he doesn't run the full series. He kind of pops in and out. Pops.
Pops in. He raced the last 2 years. He's raced more than he has in a long time, or actually ever, with the abbreviated seasons and the way things were going. This year, not so much. Kind of back to the normal par for the course where we pick the races he goes to. Logistically, what's good for us as the race team. This year's a little bit different just because of the availability of parts.
Really?
Yeah, you're having a difficult time getting
Supply
a lot of parts and
Like,
pieces.
for instance, what?
Anything.
Clutches?
Blocks. No, clutches, we have a huge inventory of clutches. We're fortunate there, but just blocks, cranks, rods,
Really?
everything is difficult to acquire.
darn.
So with us having enough inventory to run 2 cars, you need to kind of keep that cushion right now until the supply chain opens back up. And that's everything that we do. Even at Capco with parts and pieces for tractors, we're having a difficult time obtaining those parts and pieces.
See,
and then,
you know, you would think at this level that would not be the case. Oh, you know, they've got the money and, you know, the supply chain is there and the racing and all of that. But no, it's not the case.
No, there's a difficult time getting stuff.
So the shop is the same, your dad's car and your car in the same shop, or you just walk by and say, I want one of those, and give me that one?
No. We share everything, and that's one of the reasons for the success, and that's one of the reasons his car does as well as it does when it comes out, because it's an exact clone of our car. And no matter how hard you try to get those things exactly the same, they're not.
Right.
But with Dom Logano over there, Johnny West over there, and the crew is pretty much the same heart of the crew that we use all the time. I've took some guys from him over the last year. We had the same crew from 2013 until this year, and two of the guys that worked with us, they just said, "Hey, I'm done. I'm tired of being on the road. Can I stay and work at the shop?" So they work at the shop, and I stole a couple guys from Billy. So we kind of took those from him and just said, "Hey, we're taking them. You're the backup guy."
But also running the second car gives you double the data.
That was the whole reason for bringing the second car on, and I wouldn't want anyone else to drive it other than my dad.
How cool is
What,
that?
and how does that give you an edge? What is it that you share between the two that gives you an edge to do as well as you have?
Well, just take, for instance, last night. We knew exactly what they had on the primary, what they had on the secondary for the clutch, the timing curve. We knew the fuel curve. We knew everything about the car.
Right.
They go out here, and the car's running really well. But it had already started knocking the tire off before the 330 and then just hazed them all the way to the half track. And, I mean, I don't know if you guys saw it or not, but it was just a tiny amount of blue smoke coming off the tires, and so he clicked it. And you can feel it in the car, and it feels a lot worse than what it looks outside before it just completely blows them off and boils them.
Can you feel it skating just a little bit?
You can feel it skating, not so much unless you go too long. What you'll feel is the car just starting to nose over.
Gotcha.
And as hard as one of these things pull, you know when something's wrong. You either got a hole out and it sounds really bad, or it's just laying over and you know that
You're losing traction.
you're losing traction or something's wrong with the engine. During a qualifying run, you just click it. You don't, I mean, on race day, if that thing happens,
I'm going
you're
to
going
the
to get
end
off of it
yeah.
and get back on, and if it still sounds terrible and still not going anywhere and you don't see anybody, it's just going to blow up, but you got to try to get there first.
Do you ever try to partially throttle the car? I mean, you've only got about that much.
All the time you try to partially throttle it when it's trying to smoke the tires, but that is so difficult to do.
I was going to say, you've only got that much in the pedal.
It's like riding on a paint shaker and trying to thread a needle.
Yeah.
That's a great. I like that. I like
You
that.
know, especially if the car goes out and rattles the tires and you're gonna pedal it, that's a quick off and on back and don't worry about it. But if it starts spinning the tire, you need to get off.
Hold it.
The hardest thing to do
Not get back.
is be patient.
Yep.
Because now you've stepped off the throttle, whatever side you're seeing, that guy just left.
Yep.
And you're gonna get back off of it, let it stop, and then get on it again, and you try to ease on it. Because if you just hammer it again there, it does the same
Yeah,
thing.
because the
Yeah, but
clutch is already locked up.
But you're talking about that like, oh, you got plenty of time. Sit here and think about it. You're talking
This is
3
really
seconds.
about a half a second that all
Well,
this is
that's
going on.
Exactly. So it's not like, okay, but let me do this. You know, it's.
I tell everybody, if you've ever driven on ice and you hit the throttle too hard and the car starts spinning, and you let it get going, and then you step off, and the car is still spinning the tire. You can feel it. It's still out of control. That's the same feeling that we have on the track. Because
except at 300 miles an hour.
Well, those tires are going that fast. You may be only going 100. But the tire is still spinning faster than the car is traveling. So you have to wait on it to settle back down, stop, and then you go.
Get synced back up. With
Do you ever look at the tachometer during any of that?
I don't have anything in my car. I have a picture of Michael Jordan. I have no dash, no tach, no anything.
So you're purely seat of the pants.
I looked at all of it.
And they said,
Oh,
get
okay.
that out of there. Let's get into focus on
now my dash is behind the target on the car, and you'll see them take it on and off. So we only use it to start the car, set the barrel valve, set the fuel, and they take it off. And they do that with most of the Canopy cars as well.
Because there's only so much room.
I don't know why they just don't have them in there, but I was looking at the fuel flow, and I was looking at the tach, and I was like, hey, guys, I have better reaction times when the fuel's like this. And they go, you need to quit looking at everything and just drive.
Yeah. Just
So what do you prefer, 1320 or the 1,000 feet?
I think that 1,000-foot racing is better. I think that the fans see closer races. At first, I didn't really have a preference. See a lot of fans that want to go back to 1320, but we're at the point now, I don't think that the tires will make it to 1320.
Really?
Yeah, because your speed's going to accelerate.
We've run faster now than we ever ran in a quarter
Right.
mile.
Well,
Exactly.
let's not even bring up the fact of runout areas at some of the older tracks at 1,320 feet, and you've only got so much runout area. And now you're doing 330 as opposed to 200.
Right, and everybody says, well, it's not that much difference. Well, let me tell you, it's a football field plus end zones. That's a long way to start stopping.
Yeah.
When you get that much extra room.
I've never heard it put that way, and that is a long distance. But holy cow, at 300 miles an hour, it's not.
It is, because if you don't have the chutes out on time and you pass that, we're on a typical run, you go from half track 660 to 1,000 foot in 0.7 seconds.
0.7.
So that's a lot of stuff is happening, and if you have the chutes out for that 0.7 seconds, it's already stopping the car. I mean, it's trying to throw you out of the car, so it's decelerating at -5, -5.5 Gs.
Wow.
So the car will slow down. As long as chutes open well and you have plenty of shutoff, the car stops itself with the chutes. It's when things don't go right and one chute comes out and one chute's late in the wheelie bar and you're on the brakes hard, then the track's rough and
Then
you're
it's
trying to not
hopping.
bounce. And so when you do that, you look like a guy rowing a boat because now you're trying to time the opposites of the bounce. You're trying to catch it on the ground, or you just have to let completely off, let the car
Settle the
go
car.
back to rolling, and then get on the brake.
Depends on how much distance you have.
And when
till
you're
you
running
hit the
out of
ditch.
room and you see a net and rocks and sand and everything, you're thinking, I got to get this sucker stopped.
You got 2 rounds of qualifying today. What are your goals other than to go to the top of the field?
Last night was really good.
Yep. But different story today. You're going to have sunshine on the track, temperature, humidity, sunshine.
As far as the tune-up, that'll change drastically. Richard and Bobby will handle that. I don't know if the track will be there to run
in the
60s. There still are some bumps that we're having to navigate, but what we'll do today, our main, I mean, we're qualified well enough that we're not going to get bumped out. You need to concentrate on running top 2 or 3 of the session. Maybe not go for low ET of the event, but go for top
all
2 or
about the
3 of the
session
session.
today.
And then also try to figure out what you're going to do tomorrow, because these conditions today, I think we run at 2 and 5 maybe.
Pretty close.
So the 2 o'clock session is going to be very, very valuable. That's second or third
Second
round
round, yeah, that's what I was
for
thinking.
tomorrow. And so you need that information, and you need to push it, but still get data. If you go out here and smoke the tires, it's invaluable to you.
Did you drive down here from Kilgore?
Yes, sir.
You going to drive back on Sunday night?
I might drive back on Sunday night. I'm hoping I get to stay all night and drive back Monday morning because we've had
Stay and party.
stay and party.
We're having a
Got
party
that
at Dom's.
Wally.
If we win the last race at Houston, we're going to stay and party with everybody around here for a while.
Are we invited?
Absolutely. You're the first guys in.
Thank you very much. Kilgore, Texas, Steve Torrence, it's great to see you. Thanks so much for
Very
stopping
nice to
by.
meet you.
We really
Thank you
appreciate
guys for
you,
having
man.
me on. I
Congratulations on all your success.
Thank you guys very much.
Capco
We'll come by and
Contractors,
see you.
Top Fuel Dragster, thank you, and good luck today.
Talk to you later.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, time now for Konrad's Card Clinic. Before we get to that, though, let me remind everybody that we'd love to hear from you. All you have to do is shoot us an email. The address here is info@inwheeltime.com. Konrad always has a card clinic once a week. He is the guy that used to work for General Motors. He knows everything that there is to know about an automobile. So we give him this opportunity to give us an inside look at that brain power. That's where all the hair is gone.
It's all the automobiles. Well, all the General Motors. But today, let's talk a little bit about transmission fluid and how often should you change a transmission fluid. Automatic transmissions is one of the most expensive and hardest working systems inside of a car. As the transmission fluid ages, it stops cleaning, protecting, and moving parts. Because you got to remember that fluid does fundamentally three things: it cleans, it lubricates, and it cools. So once the fluid starts to get old, one of those three features stops happening, and that's where it leads to transmission failure if you're not changing the fluid frequently enough. A transmission fluid service should be performed to take out all of the old contaminated fluid and replace it with fresh new fluid. This service begins first by examining the transmission fluid to determine what it looks like. So typically transmission fluid has a red tint to it, but that's not necessarily true. Mercedes runs a blue transmission fluid. Mopar in their 8-speed runs a clear transmission fluid or an amber colored transmission fluid. So you have to know what the fluid should look like, and then you're looking to see how the fluid currently looks in the vehicle. And as it ages, it gets darker, and as it gets darker, it's oxidizing, and that oxidization means that it's also starting to get thicker. And as the fluid viscosity changes, that's when the shift performance changes.
So is it any fluid, any lubricating fluid, age also is detrimental? I know that age is detrimental, but the percentage of age versus usage to clean and lubricate, age is right in there.
Age, thermal cycles, how hot it runs. Transmission fluid theoretically is to be somewhere not hotter than 180 degrees. Believe me, in Houston in traffic, you'll see transmission fluid, and a lot of cars today have a transmission fluid temperature gauge, and you're going to see it. Well, they all have coolers, but you're going to see that temperature gauge, and you're going to see that fluid getting north of 205, 210 degrees. So the hotter the fluid gets, the quicker it degrades.
Gotcha.
So typically, manufacturers say transmission fluid in a perfect world is going to last. They say forever. I don't believe it. But let's say it's going to last 100,000 miles. That's at 180 degrees. Well, each 18 degrees above that cuts the life in half.
Oh, wow.
So if it's running at 198 degrees, it's only good for 50,000 miles. If it's running at 210 degrees, or 215 degrees, it's only going to be good for 25,000 miles. That's why you see some manufacturers tell you to change the fluid every 30,000 miles, because the transmission cooler sends the transmission fluid up to the radiator. Well, what temperature is in the radiator?
200 degrees.
210 degrees, which is the thermostat, because the engine has to run hotter, so it runs more emissions efficient. So now we're sending fluid up to a 210 degree radiator to cool. So that means that transmission fluid is hotter than that. That's why you have to change your transmission fluid on a regular interval. I'm very much a believer in every 30 to 45,000 miles to change your transmission fluid. It's a small investment in
longevity.
Probably the second most expensive component in your car.
How much does it cost to change it? To do a BG flush, say?
Somewhere between $200 to $350, depends on your fluid. Fluid prices really vary, depend on the year, make, and model of the car.
And how much fluid there is.
And how much, well, typically you're going to run a couple of quarts more than the capacity. Small cars are going to have about 10 quarts of capacity, so you're going to do a 12-quart flush.
This would be an easy thing to do when you're changing the oil. Set aside $300 and do the oil change and a transmission flush.
And if you look at it, say you're doing it on a 40,000 mile interval and you're changing your oil every 5,000 miles. every 8th time you change the oil, you want to change your transmission fluid. Well, you're spending $60 to change your engine oil, roughly, 40, 50, 60 bucks.
Yeah.
Let's say you're spending $60. So $480 later, you changed your oil 8 times. For less than that, you change your transmission fluid once. Again, it's a small investment in making your vehicle last a long time.
It's even less on the Tesla.
Tesla doesn't have a transmission. It has an extremely long extension cord.
All right, time now for a few of the stories making headlines this week. First of all, let's do some recalls. Nissan Sentra for 2020, misaligned right-hand LED headlight. They're going to recall the car for that. Okay. Insufficient transmission oil in the gearbox in your Lamborghini Huracan 2020 to 2022. Let that transmission go out and see how much that'll cost you. Audi R8 for 21 and 22, insufficient transmission oil in the
Same
gearbox.
transmission.
Yeah, isn't that funny? And insufficiently attached spoiler may separate in your Volkswagen Tiguan for 2018 through 2022. Whoops. I'm sorry, did that go through your windshield?
That's a Tiguan spoiler.
Side airbags may deploy improperly in the Tesla Model X 21, 22 model years. And from 17 to 2022 Tesla Models 3S, X, and Y, pedestrian warning sound may be obscured. God, we can't have that.
That's called the Jimmy Hoffa recall.
Hey, let me out of the trunk.
Get out of the way. We're coming through now. Here's one that kind of surprised me. The new model of the Chevy Trax is scheduled to go into production. Remember the Chevy Trax?
Yes, they're teeny as tiny as those cars.
They plan a new Trax subcompact crossover for 2023. New model, like the current version, will be a gasoline-powered subcompact entry-level crossover. Chevy on Friday confirmed that production of the current model will end late this year. I didn't even know they were still making the darn thing.
Certain parts of the country sell it. I don't know that they sell many of them in Texas because all they want is 15, pickup trucks. But, the East Coast and the West Coast, they sell a lot of those teeny tiny cars that you could carry in the back of your pickup truck here.
Here you go. Man was arrested after police said he destroyed the rear windows of more than 100 vehicles at 3 dealerships in suburban Chicago this week. Andrew McAuliffe allegedly broke onto the lots of Rob Rohrman Honda, Bob Rohrman Schaumburg Ford, and Patrick BMW in Schaumburg. Late Wednesday night, all 3 dealerships were on the same 2 blocks. Preliminary estimates to repair the damaged vehicles are around $125,000. A total of 116 cars at 3 dealerships were vandalized. McAuliffe has been charged with 2 felony counts of criminal damage to his property. His bail set at $5,000. McAuliffe's lawyer said he could not be reached for comment, actually. And all I can say is, well, say hello to the loony bin. Why would you do something like that?
Don't know.
Well, I'm sorry. They put the wrong air pressure in my tires, and I was really hacked off, so I went and broke out all the windows.
Well, think about how many cars he damaged and how expensive it's going to be to replace that glass. And then on top of that, how much of that glass is readily available to replace?
What a complete moron.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, he needs to be in the loony bin.
Yep.
All right, quick break
He
down.
is. He's in Chicago.
There is that. Quick break now, and you're on the In-Wheel Time Car Talk Show. Stay with us.
Father's Day weekend, Saturday, June 18th, 2022. It's the next Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise In, and you're invited. Tailpipes and Tacos Father's Day edition will be at the same Loopy Tortilla in Katy, 8 to 11 a.m. on Saturday, June 18th. It's the only place cruisers compete for trophies and other prizes. Enter your vehicle for Best Hot Rod, Best Classic, and Best Modern Classic. Tailpipes and Tacos is Houston's coolest cruise-in and is your opportunity to see the best hot rods, show cars, classics, and resto mods, and get Loopy Tortilla breakfast tacos and adult beverages. There's no entry fee, and cars will automatically compete for custom Loopy trophies and other prizes. It all happens at the Loopy Tortilla Tex-Mex in Katy on the Grand Parkway at Kingsland Boulevard, just south of I-10. Kick off summer with Tailpipes and Tacos Father's Day edition, Saturday, June 18th. The In Real Time Car Talk Show will be there too. Celebrate Father's Day, the start of summer, and the return of Tailpipes and Tacos. Saturday morning, June 18th, 8 to 11. We'll see you then, weather permitting.
Tony Stewart Racing joins the NHRA Camping World Drag Racing Series, and his drivers, Leah Pruitt and Matt Hagan, will face off against NHRA stars including the legendary John Force Racing Team. Don't miss this battle of horsepower and performance. It's the final NHRA Spring Nationals event at Houston Raceway Park. Don't miss it this weekend. This is your last chance for nitro action in Baytown. Tickets at HoustonRaceway.com.
The In Wheel Time Car Talk Show is now part of the iHeart family. Now you'll have access to 24/7 Car Talk anytime you need a fix. Just download the iHeart Radio app and ask for In Wheel Time Car Talk, and there we are. Be sure to save us in your iHeart library for instant access. No matter where you are, you have the best Car Talk Show right on your PC, laptop, or mobile device and never have to worry about finding us again. Of course, you can always get access to our video and audio streams via InWheelTime.com and your favorite podcast channel, and all of this is free to you. From the iHeart Radio app, you'll not only hear our Saturday morning live show, but the best shows of the past, updated weekly. Never miss a minute of up-to-date new car reviews, pre-owned reviews, Konrad's Car Clinic, informative interviews, automotive news, and the most fun car talk show on the planet. Just download the iHeart Radio app, search for In Wheel Time Car Talk, save it to your library, and with a tap of the icon, you'll be in touch with your favorite Car Talk team. In Wheel Time Car Talk, streaming now on iHeart.com/InWheelTime.